right, let's take another look at this coming storm system for the plains and also look at what's going to be going on with a potential tropical system that could be affecting the Gulf Coast up into the Mid Atlantic region and the latter part of the period here. We're going to start here now. We're close enough now to the system that I think the NAM model is valid to be using at this point in time. So here is our NAM at 36 hours, 12Z on Friday, and here comes our deepening upper level low across the central Rockies. I'm going to show you the NAM, the GFS, and the Canadian model and the differences going forward with these. So this is the NAM. Here's the GFS. A little bit different of a map here, so it's a little bit skewed. But you can see pretty much the center of the upper level low is pretty much in the same spot here. It's a little bit, maybe just a slight bit east on the GFS, but not a big difference there. Then we'll go to the Canadian, and again, different setup here, but basically we're seeing the same thing. Here's our upper level trough here, the closed low, near the Utah, Colorado, Wyoming border here. So that's 36 hours, and then we'll go to 48, and we'll start to see some differences starting here. Now look how this really winds up here. The NAM really winds it up, very sharp trough here, developing a lot of energy coming into the Central Plains and heading for the Midwest. Now the GFS, now this is still coming out, but it's not quite as strong, and we're seeing some energy being left back here across the Central Rockies. Here's our tropical system here, which if it does indeed form, it will be Tropical Storm Karen. So we'll watch that. We'll show you what that's going to happen with that. Now we'll go to the Canadian model, and you can see there's even more energy being held back here. Whereas the NAM has that nice sharp trough, a little bit of energy gets held back, but not nearly as much. We have a much deeper upper level low coming into the plains, not quite as strong on the GFS or the Canadian model right now. Now we'll go up to 60 hours, valid 12Z Saturday, and here's the NAM. And now this is starting to leave back some energy back here in the Four Corners region, but still a very, very strong upper level low moving across the upper Midwest now at this point in time. Here's our, we went to the Canadian here. I have them out of order, but that's okay. But you can see here, the storm is still coming out, but it's not nearly as strong as it is on the NAM, and there's a lot more energy being held back there. And then we'll go to our surface maps, and there's the GFS at the wrong hour on the NAM there. But you can see that upper level low is spinning up a nice area of low pressure in the high plains of Colorado here. We have a warm front extending up here, and our cold front extending down like that. Go out to 48 hours, and there's the Canadian, basically showing the same thing. High plains, and you have the low pressure system forming, cold front, warm front, up like that. Now we'll go to 48 hours. Now I do have the NAM here, and you can see the storm is really winding up on the NAM due to that upper level low, cranking up across the region. Very deepening low. We have a cold front down here like this. Here's our warm front up here. And GFS. Now the GFS, remember, it was not quite as strong, bringing the upper level low out and kept some energy back here. So it does have a nice area of low pressure, but it's not as wound up as the NAM is at this point in time. Now the NAM does tend to overdo things, so I think that somewhere in between is probably the truth, but I'm not too keen on all that energy getting held back. So I think more energy is going to come out. Probably going to be a little bit closer to the NAM, but not as extreme as the NAM is showing, as I'm thinking right now. And here's our little potential Karen down here. And we'll go out to 48 hours in the Canadian, and this is a little bit stronger than the GFS, but not as strong as the NAM. Now we get out to 60 hours, and this thing is just a monster now. I mean, look at these isobars back here. We're talking blizzard conditions occurring back here if this is right. And the GFS, I mean, that too. We're looking at some very strong winds, some heavy snow. I'll show you where the cold air is going to be coming into this region here. So, these models are now showing potential blizzard conditions out in this area here with heavy snow and strong winds creating very dangerous low visibilities. Meanwhile, while there's winter going on up here, here's a tropical storm heading for the Gulf Coast. And the Canadian, again, stronger than the GFS, not as strong as the NAM, but still showing a nice blizzard-like conditions up in that region there. Now we take a look here at our potential for severe weather, and we're going to focus here on the 42-hour NAM, valid 18Z on Friday. Here's a low pressure system, and I'll draw on this one for you here. Here's a low pressure system here. We have a warm front up like this, and a very pronounced cold front down like this. So there's our frontal systems, and you can see then we also have then our very high dew point air coming out here like this, out ahead of that system. So, you know, that area there is going to be under fire, particularly when we get to the 1012 or lower millibar area. So right in this area here is where I'm looking for the potential of severe weather, and kind of shaped like a tornado. And I think that might be fitting as we go forward here on these maps, and I'll show you why. Here's our 925 millibar low-level jet, and very strong low-level jet coming into this region here. There's our winds like that coming there. But watch what happens here as we start going up through the levels of the atmosphere. We're going to be looking at here's 500. Now look what's going on here at 500 millibars. Remember the winds on the 925 were southerly, like that. Well, here there's southwest to, about southwest we'll call it. So there's that there, and there's that there. So we're having a nice directional shear going on across this region here. So that's going to be something to really keep an eye on from Iowa. I think this region in here is going to be under the gun for potential tornado outbreak. We'll have to see how that pans out. I'll show you the EHI values. They're quite impressive too. So then here's our 300 millibars, and a lot of ventilation going on here. We have some very nice, despite not being in a really favorable area of the jet, we're still looking at some pretty nice divergence going on through that area there as well. So I think that's going to be a real concern as we head through the day on Friday, the potential for tornadoes in the plains in the Midwest. And here's our EHI values, and it's a little bit north of where I was showing, but I think that back in this region here, there's going to be something to really be keeping an eye on. Here is our 1,850 millibar thickness, and here is the area where it's going to be cold enough to snow in this region here. And so, with these high, strong winds in there, I think we could be looking at blizzard conditions developing as the day goes on Friday in that region there. It's all going to be over across this region here. I'll show you the snowfall map, and there we have the projected snowfall depth. And still looking for quite a bit of snow across the Bitterroots, across the Tetons, Wind River Ranges, the Bighorn Ranges as well. All these areas are going to be picking up probably a foot plus of snow as we head over the next 48 to 60 hours as it looks now. So that's what we're looking at as far as snow goes. Now here's a concern for our tropical system. This is the current shear from the University of Wisconsin CIMSS webpage, excellent page for tropical storm forecasting. Here we see there's a lot of shear across the Gulf of Mexico right now, but I think that is going to be relaxing as this storm system starts to move northward into the Gulf. So while it may have a little bit of hindrance to start, I think once it gets into the Gulf, this shear is going to be shifting out of the region, and we will be able to get a tropical storm developing as it moves in. Now, we'll take a look here at what's going to be happening with this storm as it's moving in. And this is the GFS model, and we'll take you through a loop here, courtesy of WeatherBell. And here comes, okay, there's the tropical system, and here comes that upper level trough. And you can see, look what happens there, right there, between 72 and 78 hours, that storm starts to get absorbed by that upper level trough. And we'll see what you'll see. It just gets picked up and kind of gets lost in translation there with the trough, and I'll show you the surface reflection of that. And right now it's showing the storm coming in somewhere on the Gulf Coast, probably near Mobile, Alabama, as it looks right now, maybe a little bit west of there. But and then it just kind of it's kind of looking at the potential for heavy rain across parts of the the Appalachians in the Northeast. But if this is right, that storm would just kind of fizzle out to not much to do as it's heading up. Now, I think that this track is going to be a little too far east. I think it's going to track more inside the coastline here. I think it's going to come ashore down here, get picked up, and kind of move more like this instead of like this. But we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But